One of the best definitions of mindfulness I've come across recently is when the wise old turtle Uguay gives the advice to Po in Kung Fu Panda that yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift, and that's why it's called the present. And what he's doing is advising this anxious panda to be right here, right now, in the present moment, and not worry about whether or not he's going to become the dragon warrior. Now that's very similar to young people who are being told to look fantastic, to pass their exams with high marks, to get this job, to achieve that, to achieve the other. Let's help them flourish just by being right here, right now. I think in the early stages, mindfulness almost teaches itself, because all you have to do is give permission to a young person to sit still, to be quiet, to pay attention to their breath, and very quickly they recognize its worth. Nobody's ever told them that sitting still and being quiet is an activity. It is an activity, and when they do that activity, they feel the benefits of it very quickly. Michael Chaskelson is one of the most experienced mindfulness teachers in the UK, and we're having him into Tonbridge School to work not just with the teachers of mindfulness here, but also with the parents of the pupils.
Mindfulness training is about training your mind in a particular way, training yourself to be with your experience differently and to attend differently. Something that I think we all should have learned at school but didn't. At the moment we teach school kids the value of physical exercise and developing themselves physically. We teach people about nutrition and how to look after themselves in that regard. I think we ought to be teaching people how to train themselves mentally, how to work more directly with their own minds to bring about desirable mental states.
Titus and Fergus are two of many pupils who have really felt the benefits of mindfulness in their everyday school life in all sorts of different ways.
In your life, you'll find yourself running along, not paying attention to what's going on around you.
Yeah.
So mindfulness really just teaches you to take in your surroundings and take in things you'd otherwise probably not notice. We're going to feel anxiety naturally in our lives. So
definitely, yeah.
by learning mindfulness, you're never going to stop all the anxiety in your life.
No.
But it is a really good way of just those points of the day when you feel just unbelievably stressed, where you can just sit down and sort of take in your breaths, and just you realise why you're feeling anxiety, and just in that action of doing that, you sort of reduce it for yourself. So, do you do the .B method thing?
Yeah,
I never learned that. So
no,
what is it?
You basically, among your friends, you send each other texts saying with a full stop and then a B, and it stands for pause and breathe. And no matter what you're doing, when you receive this text from one of your friends or anybody, you stop and count your breath for a minute, and it's a really good way of appreciating whatever you're doing. Walking or reading or working or whatever it is, it's a really good way of appreciating what you have.
I generally practice mindfulness maybe once every 3 days, every other day, and just for 10 minutes before I go to bed, I just sit in a chair and be mindful for around 10 minutes to just listen to my breaths and feel the breaths inside me. I guess with taking GCSEs, it's really helpful right now, because we're under so much stress as teenagers. Having that ability to sort of calm down and just sort of take in the world around you is really nice, because otherwise you would just be thinking about exams constantly.
Yeah. Before an exam, I'd usually not ignore, but I'd put all revision out of my mind for 2, maybe 3 minutes, and just to bring me into the present moment. I
mean, we're not always going to be stressed about exams. Life as a teenager is just generally stressful, even though people don't seem to realise that. So whenever I have just a bad day, just generally with my family or something like that, you can still do mindfulness in those situations. Yeah. So that's actually a lot of the time. So whenever you have a bad day, mindfulness is great to sort of just calm down and unwind.
Yeah.
I think to begin with mindfulness, you do face a certain scepticism, and they think, oh, this is just hippie rubbish, or this is just some new age thing. It isn't. It is scientifically proven all over the shop in hundreds of different studies already that mindfulness in the adult world works. It reduces stress, it helps people cope with chronic pain, it reduces anxiety, and the neurologists are very interested because they can see literally what it's doing to your brain as you sit quietly.
Over the last 10 years, there's been a plethora of research. Some are really good neuroscience research, looking at how the brain is reconfigured as a result of mindfulness training in all sorts of useful ways. And there's been a lot of psychological research showing the beneficial use of mindfulness practice.
Some of the best evidence for the effectiveness of mindfulness actually comes from brain scanning Tibetan monks. There's a degree of overlap between what Tibetan monks do and what secular mindfulness is, and when you actually scan the brains of monks who have been practicing this for 10,000 hours, they are manifestly different on the bell curve of neural happiness.
So it's gone from having been something slightly wacky and alternative and a bit off-piste to actually quite a mainstream training and intervention. And we've got good science to show the value of it.
What we're very keen to do is to make sure that the mindfulness that comes into schools is separated very clearly from its religious applications. Because I think as soon as something becomes in any way a religious activity, it brings with it all sorts of baggage. So we're very much presenting mindfulness as a secular training for the mind. I think what we don't want to do is shove mindfulness down people's throats. I think our ambition really is simply to make it available to pupils as a resource. In the same way that they learn to read, that they learn to write, that they learn to do maths, they should learn that mindfulness is a mode of mind that in certain situations is extremely useful. Some of them will want to go a long way with that, others might just want to use it to help calm their nerves before an exam. All we're doing is making it available to them.